Welcome to Decide to Move podcast, where top experts share tips and strategies to grow you from where you currently are to where you are destined to be personally and professionally. Now here's your host, author, speaker, business strategist, CEO, and founder of Decide to Move, Monica M. Bijou.
Welcome back to another episode. I am super excited for have you join me today. I'm always amazed of the amazing experts that I have with me because they are always bringing you new information, tips, and strategies. And right now with COVID-19 and everything that's happening right now, I have expert speakers that are here to teach you how to launch your business, how to sell yourself, how to show up, how to be online. And today I have another great expert speaker that's here today. She's going to talk to you how to market and launch your products and services during COVID-19 pandemic. Today I have with me Shannon McCaffery. She is known as the Soulful Marketer, and that's because she's from my home state, Louisiana. She's an expert product launch manager and strategic marketer who focuses on building and creating proven online marketing funnels and product launches that brings you prospects, leads, and profits. Hi, Shannon. How are you doing today?
Hey, I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I am excited to have you with me. You know, I always enjoy talking to you, and we have
Yeah,
all when we get together, it's just like, hey, girlfriends has been knowing each other forever.
I know, right? I love it.
So
We have,
tell
we
the
have a good time.
yes, most definitely. So tell my audience where you're from, where you are now, and then how did you get on this entrepreneur journey?
Okay, I'll try to make it brief for you. I actually grew up in New Orleans, our favorite state of Louisiana. Yay, yay us. And I made my way actually after that fun time in the Mardi Gras, many Mardi Gras, right? Went to school down there. I ended up moving up to New Jersey and took a corporate job. And I was in the corporate space for about, I guess, 20 years, in and out of working for myself for a company. That's what's so interesting, about being an entrepreneur. I think I've always been an entrepreneur because I was in sales and marketing and I worked out of my house. I got a company car, got an expense account, and all I did was knock on college, university professors' doors all day long. Anyway, and in the college publishing industry and publishing in general at that time, there's a lot of people buying up people, companies buying up companies and people and all that kind of fun stuff. So I ended up getting laid off a few times. And the last time that I was laid off, my mentor came to me and said, "Hey, I just bought this business from Dan Kennedy. I want you to come work with me and help me build it. And I want to help build your business." And that was that. So he's like, don't go back to corporate America. So I did. And that was almost 14 years ago that I did that. And basically, I have learned just as much by being on my own than when I was with a company. And, when I started my own business, I really started out doing online marketing. And, there's a real, finesse to doing that as opposed to any other type of marketing. And I loved, helping entrepreneurs implement the things that they learned. And that's how I started out as a marketing implementer. And then I started studying about product launches, and then I got into product launches. But, as any business owner, when you have a business that starts, you evolve over time. And I think the more I started really developing things myself, doing some self-discovery, going to Peru, doing some amazing adventures, I started really looking at my business as, okay, I wanted to be more of a mirror. I want to work really with people who are more soulful and who are more oriented to my way of thinking. So I ended up shifting my business away from working with, because I work with a lot of internet marketers and helping them build their businesses. And people that folks on may know, like Jeff Walker was a client of mine, Yannick Silver, Jack Canfield. I had a lot of really important folks that I learned so much from by working with them. And I decided that I really wanted to work with a specific niche, and that's people in the health, wellness, and healing. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I have learned, and I have had some really difficult times in my life where if I didn't have those health, wellness, healing people helping me, I wouldn't have been able to be in the place I am today. So, and that's why I've dedicated my business now to working with people, because the goal of my mission right now is to help 1 million health, wellness, healing people and people in personal development heal, multi-millions of people. That's really what I want to do. And I do it through helping them with a customer experience online, through marketing funnels, and through product launches.
That's great. And you said that you like to work with entrepreneurs, like, so they can be like you and have that come from a soulful place. For those people that don't really know what soulful means besides soul food, what exactly?
Yeah, would you love that?
Mm-hmm. I get it all the time. Can you cook gumbo? Yes. Ooh.
Oh yeah. Can you barbecue shrimp? Barbecue
Exactly.
shrimp, right?
Yeah. Exactly. It's like you can't really say you're from New Orleans if you don't really know how to cook gumbo. I'm just saying.
Or an étouffée, right?
Yes.
Crawfish étouffée. Yeah. Okay.
That is one of my favorites. People are like, you guys are making me hungry.
That's our next show. All right.
Exactly.
We're talk about New Orleans
You'll have to
cooking.
tune into that episode. So when you talk about soulful, what's your definition of soulful?
My definition of soulful is someone who looks at their business as not just a way of making money, but it's more of an extension of living in their higher purpose and looking at their business as how they can make the most impact and help really transform people's lives through whether it's courses or products or books or services like a coaching group or a mastermind group, but really looking at taking their essence and finding out what their superpowers are and how they can help make an impact. Because I mean, honestly, my vision is that a rising tide floats all boats. So we're all here to help each other. I don't look at someone who's doing something that I'm doing as competition either, because you know what? Everybody learns differently. Everybody learns from different people. So people that are going to be attracted to work with me are going to be different from people that are attracted to work with someone else, because I have a very different way of approaching business and helping people be successful.
Exactly. And I've mentioned that a lot to people, that there's enough room for all of us. And especially with right now, you're seeing some truth for some people really coming out, like people are really showing who their true sense of who they are.
Right.
And not always in a good way. And then you have those entrepreneurs that are saying, I've been working this, corporate, I've been super successful, I made it to the top of the ladder, I've always wanted to do this, has been my purpose. I just, didn't feel like I was ready, or didn't feel like I had the tools to actually make that shift without starting all the way from the bottom. And that's really what my podcast is really all about. And even who I serve is those entrepreneurs that have experienced that, but now they're on the journey of having meaningful, right? Everything being meaningful to them, of course, meaningful wealth, making money so that way you can actually leave an impact.
Because money is just energy, right? And money isn't the outcome. It's the impact. And it's about doing it like what you're talking about, doing it authentically, doing it genuinely, and doing it from a place of integrity and a place of intention.
Exactly. Yeah. I've seen some people who don't operate from that place. And I think we have been, we've had those conversations.
We're not naming names.
Yes, so, no name dropping. So I think it's great that you're here, so that way you can actually help our audience. And I say because of the fact that it's going to be a shared experience of how they actually can have soulful launches, as well as be able to show up online in a very authentic way. Are you ready to go through some of those with us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let you take it away.
Well, sure. And one of the things I want to mention first is, with what's happening right now with the pandemic, with the kind of sort of, the fear and the, unknowing, and the things that are seem to us right now that are out of control. I think one of the most important things that you can do is, and actually I just wrote an email to my list about this today, is your messaging. Your messaging is incredibly important right now. And a couple of things about your messaging. The biggest one is it's really a time where you need to meet people where they are, right? And you have to really look at where, what they're suffering, if they're suffering from something, like one of the things is, people, like I said, people are scared, people are fearful, people also, people are out there, they're unsure of what's going on, and they have other issues that are happening, and maybe they want you to recognize that, or maybe they just need a distraction, or they need entertainment, or they just want to get outside of themselves. So for you as an entrepreneur, communicating during this time, what you're communicating about is going to be really important. And what I have seen, even, if you're launching a product or whatever you're looking at doing, I've seen people do it what I'm calling the right way and the wrong way. And, for example, I'm getting communications of, grocery stores and other businesses saying we're cleaning, we're doing all this, we're helping our employees or all that. I'm thinking, well, that's great, but I'm making a big assumption that since you're still open, you're already doing those things. So in a way, great, you can send me one email about that, but I want you to tell me more. Like, tell me, like, I got a great email from United this week, because I'm a platinum member, and you know what, if I don't make so many miles this year, I'm not going to get it next year, and I'm worried because it's April and I haven't, we can't travel. So you know what they did? Instead of just saying all the things they're doing about the virus and about how they're keeping their staff healthy, they actually told me that they're extending my status until 2022. I thought, well, there's a reason to open up an email. Right? So when you're communicating, meet people where they are. And when you're meeting them where they are, also communicate to them, if you're doing something that could help them or interest them or entertain them. Now's the time to look at everything that you're offering and saying to yourself, okay, maybe if I have a product, maybe I don't, maybe if I'm not offering a payment plan, maybe you should think about offering a payment plan now. Because people are looking at their finances a bit more closely, and some people are struggling. So it's like, well, how can you help them? Or maybe there's something that you're offering that you could say, you know what, if you want to invest and it's investing in this product, I'll give you this thing for free as a bonus. So it's really looking at how can you give back, but in a way that you're still not discrediting what you're offering, right? So, not saying, oh, I'm going to give everything I have away for free. And the other thing to look at is, this is a tip to give you in any of your offers. Always, always, always don't ever say, here's what you need to pay me, right? The word pay is a no-no. I mean, you can say pricing, that's okay. But what I always tell people is use the word invest.
Exactly.
And always use that word invest, because especially if you're a coach or you're a consultant, when people are exchanging money to us, they're investing in themselves and they're investing in you, right? Because they want what you're offering, because they want, to help them solve a problem. So always use the word invest, and that's whether you're dealing with the pandemic or not. And even if you're, if you're selling masks and you're asking people for a mask, you're not paying them, you're actually investing, because that's a way where you're really investing in someone's creating something, that'll help you stay healthy. What else? So messaging is really important. And your languaging is really important. And another thing that I wrote about, and meeting them where they are, right, is another really good thing to do. And then I'm trying to think, there's a third thing that is helpful is, make sure that if you're communicating, you're doing it regularly. So for instance, I just talked to a client today who told me that she stopped communicating with her people 2 months ago. And I was like, why did you do that? And I get it. And I'm not, trying to chastise people for not communicating. But the thing is, when you stop communicating, your audience is distrustful of you, because they're relying on seeing something from you. Especially, like, I don't send a lot of emails, but I send one a week, and I send it always in the same day. So my list knows they're going to hear from me on this day every week. And if something should happen and I stop emailing them, they're going to be like, what happened to her? And then they're going to like, well, then why didn't she communicate? And they're going to start to distrust. So it builds an unconscious distrust, because they're not sure when they're going to see communications from you. So I would encourage everyone who's listening now, if you're going to start communicating, make sure you're doing it on a regular basis in the same day. And if you are already communicating, make sure you do it consistently, right?
Exactly.
And if you think you don't have anything to say, I would beg to differ, because there's an old adage, like if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. I would disagree with that right now. I mean, even if it's telling them, hey, here's what happened to me today, and creating a lesson out of what happened to you, because there's lessons everywhere that we can share and help people with. And a lot of people just want to know, how are you dealing with this crisis? And you know what? And they can get small things out of that, or maybe it's a distraction, as I said before. So those are just a couple things.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good information. And one of the things that I, personally, are getting ready to do a live tomorrow to help my audience understand, or I should say this week, probably by the time you hear this, it will tomorrow pass. So,
oh yeah, right, it'll probably be over. Right.
But in my group of really helping them understand that everybody's in different stages, because if you think about grief, you have people that are in different stages of grief, and it takes different, like someone, you have people that are like, I can't believe that this is happening, right? That's the first stage of grief,
right.
denial. Like, no, this, and in
denial.
fact, I knew a lot of people. I mean, our own president was going through that. It's not as bad as they say that it is. Oh, it's not, and there's some people that are still, it's not hitting them until I actually talked to someone recently that until it was a friend of theirs, someone that they knew that ended up testing positive, that they were like, oh my gosh, wait, this is a lot closer than I thought about. For some people, they're like, of course, not watching TV or anything else like that, not really knowing what's going on. And some people are overindulging themselves in watching TV. They're not doing it in a healthy way. And so that's one of the things of really helping them understand how to deal with the stages of grief, so that you understand how to deal with the pandemic, because people are in different, and then understanding, just like if you find out someone died, it could be and each family member is dealing with things differently. Be kind to people in the space that they're at, understanding that they're at a different space. So
meeting them where they are is really important, because in some instances you don't really know what their experience is going to be right now. So having compassion, right, is really important. Being kind. I mean, there are many ways you can do it, online, offline, and it's funny, just getting off, business for a second, like even going to the grocery store, you can still, even though you have to have distancing, you can still be kind to people. You can still smile, obviously, if you're not wearing a mask. It's not, you just have to, we have to keep our distance, right?
Unless you're like Tyler, as Tara Banks used to say, Tyra Banks, smile with your eyes.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? You can wear your mask and still smile with your eyes, smizing, as she calls it. Right? Because you can, like, for me, my cheeks are so high, you can tell when I'm smiling compared to when I'm not. Because my eyes basically are closed. They look like
right? Oh, it's so true.
So people can tell through your eyes when you're smiling or how you're feeling. So
totally.
Most definitely. Anything else as far as from that standpoint that you can
think from
of?
Messaging, I think what's really important is that, you need to, one of the biggest emphasis I always have is on knowing who your customer is and defining them and knowing where they are. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what we were just saying. So, one of the things I would encourage people who are listening, and I know a lot of people, it's an Achilles heel because they're like, oh yeah, I know who they are. Well, here's the thing. Your customers or your prospects, your clients are more than just a demographic, because that information is fine and good and helpful, but you need to go deeper. So I would encourage people to go more soulful, is what I would say, on a level of knowing what their values are, and do those values, are they aligned with you, right? That's one thing. And then also, do they trust you? Do they have confidence in you? So I would say if you don't have a list of what you're looking for in clients or customers, I would encourage you to write it down. And I keep mine right by my computer. So for instance, it would be, I want a client who trusts me and who knows I have their back, right? I want to work with a client who has a meditation practice or soulful practice where, they are aware and attentive. I also want to work with someone who respects relationships over money, because I think relationships are way more important than money. And I also want, like, I actually wrote this down on one of my other ones. I want a client who loves paying me every month. And I have a client who actually does. He actually pays me before I even ask him. The money's in my bank account. So those are just some examples of really knowing who your client or your customer is and going on a little bit deeper level and looking at it, in a way that maybe you might not have looked at it before. Because people are always looking to you as, is what you're offering, is this interesting? Can I trust you? And will this work for me? So knowing those three things whenever you're communicating, especially if you have an offer or you have a lead magnet or you're driving people to a page to get their email address, those are really important.
That's good information. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that, because there's, right now, even people who have been doing very well online, like when you go through a pandemic, or I mean, like I haven't gone through a pandemic in my lifetime. I mean, there's been stuff, but nothing that felt this worldwide. So there's people that are shattered, that are like, they don't know what step to take. It's kind of like they feel like they've, gotten off balance. And so I'm grateful that you're giving them information that'll help them at least stand up and be able to take that step. And right now it's about taking one step at a time. And, like we always say, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, not sitting there trying to go 100 miles an hour, when right now it's about just being able to take one step at a time and feeling grounded each time that you do so.
Yeah, and people are looking for leaders right now. They're looking for people who have confidence and people who have compassion. And, I mean, and the thing to know is that where we are right now is temporary. I mean, we're
Exactly.
not going to always be here in this place. So something that I learned from the 2008 recession with my business is when it really affected my pocketbook, I still kept doing what I was doing, but I offered a lot more free calls. And I offered, I ended up reconnecting with a lot of people I haven't talked to in a while and helped support them in other ways. And when 2009 came around, I had the biggest year of my business because I planted those seeds. I stuck my neck out. I did it in a way that because I wanted to, and because I really wanted to help some of my friends out. And then it turned out that they remembered me, then a year later, like, oh my God, like we need Shannon to come help work on this thing. And an example is the entertainment business. All those entertainers that are giving away they're doing all these concerts and all, doing all these live things online for free for their fans. When they come out with their next album, you bet you those fans are going to remember that, and they're going to probably buy and sell out. Because you know what that's about? That's about reciprocity. And that's an unconscious thing. If you haven't read the book by Robert Cialdini called Influence, you need to read it. And one of the biggest things that influence people psychologically is reciprocity. So it's like, you do something for me, you do me a favor, and I feel like I need to give back and I need to do something for you.
Yeah, most definitely. And people often do that. Like, they, like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And it's not something that is like you're doing this because you expect something back, but it's like when someone is there for you in your time of need, it's like you not say like necessarily like you owe them, but you just feel this honor, like it's an honor for me to be that support for you because of the fact that you were there for me when I really needed it. And that's super huge and important that people understand. So let's like transition into some of the launching strategies, because you have your own launching strategy that you have created called Soulful Launch. And I am interested in hearing all about it. I know that our audience is, to really learn how, like, I'm like, literally you created your own, and I got to hear it before. So I'm super excited about learning about it again. But the 7 steps that you take to help someone actually launch their business in a soulful manner.
You got it. All right. Well, I already talked about the first step, so it's awesome. The first step is to define your ideal client or your dream client or customer, right? And the second step is to clarify your services. Now, this step is really important because if you are not really clear about what you're selling, So let's say you're selling a coaching program or a mastermind group. You have to be really clear on what it is that you are offering for people. So that's why step one is important, because you have to know what your ideal client's frustrations are. You have to know what their problems are, and you have to know what keeps them up at night. So the second step is really clarifying your services. And it could be more on it. And as I said, it could be on a deeper level of clarifying your services. What is it that you are emotionally going to help them with on that deeper level? And then step three is creating your juicy offer. So your offer, a lot of people think their offer is their product. Well, that's part of it. But the rest of your offer really is looking at what else can you give them? Because bonuses, when I do a launch, are huge. And a lot of times people will buy your thing, or I should say invest in your thing, because they're going to get these bonuses. And the key thing about a bonus is you want to look at what your product might be lacking, and you can solve that problem or solve that objection they might have to buying your product by offering a bonus to solve it. And a good example is if you have a product, like let's say you're looking at one of the gurus who has something called product launch formula. A lot of the objections people have is, well, I don't have a list, so I can't really launch anything. Well, so what did he do? He came up with a bonus, and it's called how to build your list. So that was a good way. So that's a good example to know, okay, how do you create your juicy offer? And if you say to me, well, how do I figure out what my bonuses are? Best way to do it is to create an assets list. So what I mean by that is looking at all of the things that you might have created already. So like for you, Monica, it'd be your podcast could be huge assets. You could take all your podcasts, you have transcripts of them all, and you could turn them into a product, and that could be a bonus for something. Another thing a bonus could be is swipe files. Like I have a ton of swipe files, and a swipe file is I take screenshots of all the launches that go really well, so I have those to look back. I have their sales pages, I have their opt-in pages, so that could be a really nice bonus. So when you have an assets list, knowing all the things, then it's really easy for you to figure out what you can create as a bonus. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Makes sense to me. I hope you guys, and you can always leave comments. And what I love about this is that this is not only audio, but it's also video on YouTube. And so Shannon has her board that has the 7 steps. So anybody that needs, like, what was she saying again? You can always go watch the video, and then you can actually take a snapshot.
You got it. All right. Number 4 is determining their investment. So as we already talked about investment and how important it is. So it's not about price, it's about what are they investing in. And it's looking at how much are you, like, how do you figure out the dollar sign? How do you figure out how much you're going to charge? And this is a really tough one. And I wish I had a magic wand to give you a magic answer. But I think the way that you can figure this out is do your homework, do your research, look at other like-minded products and see what they're charging, and also looking at your offer, because honestly, the more you can stack your offer, which means the more you add to your offer, the more you can actually ask for in price. So an example would be if you add a live coaching aspect to your offer, then you can charge more, because it's not just okay, buy this product and you're one and done. Usually those things are looked about as less, but if you're adding a live component to it, a coaching component or a Q&A component, then you can usually ask for more money. But another thing to think about when you're looking at your price is notice what you are calling it. So a really good example is if you're selling a book, there is a preconceived notion out there of how much a book will cost. So be careful in what you call things and what the perceived price is in the marketplace. So for me, that would be, instead of calling something a book, I would call it an e-guide, or I would call it say, hey, this isn't just a book, it's a product, right? Or it's a whole course that you're taking, because that has a different connotation and you have more flexibility in price, right? Make sense? Cool. And then the 5th thing is looking at your marketing path, because there are many ways to launch, and that is your marketing path. So there's many ways to do it. And what I do is I look at a couple of things. I look at price. So looking at how much you're going to charge for something, that's a good key to figuring out what way you will launch it. So an example is, if you have a product that's priced from maybe $1 to $200, in my experience and in my launches, that's something you could definitely do, going from a landing page to a thank you page to an upsell page. So you don't have to have any live or video component to it. You can get away with selling that online. Now, where you need to have a live component like a webinar, and I don't like using the word webinar to sell it. I like using online training. I like using masterclass. I like using, meeting, but call it something else. But if you're going to go from a landing page to a live webinar, or even a recorded webinar, then you can get away with selling something up to about $2,500. But the magic number for me in launches is, if you're over $2,500, you can do any type of launch you want, but you have to have a live getting on the phone interview process in order to sell it. Make sense? And then another way to launch, so you've got, a strictly all online, you've got, which basically just goes from a landing page to an upsell page. Then you have doing a webinar or a live training. And then another way is what Jeff Walker calls his product launch system, which is doing 3 or 4 videos that you do, which creates a sort of event type thing to launch. And another successful way is doing a live summit, which is having a lot of people on the call, right? And having a lot of interviews and then selling the package at the end. Or a 5th way is doing a docu-series, which is doing like what I did with Dr. Perlmutter. We had 12 docu-series, which were 12 events, right? Live, events. And then we were able to sell the whole package at the end. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And now, since, with the pandemic and people are not able to do anything like live, like away from the online, they can still do their docuseries by doing it virtually. Is that?
Oh, totally. And the other thing too is, so to bring in the soulful to how you pick your path, I always tell people to look inside and figure out what is the way that's most comfortable for you to communicate your message. Because don't let anybody out there, any marketer, anyone out there tell you, oh, you have to do this. Because when someone tells me that, it really wrinkles, it really gets my goat. Because you know what? No one knows you, and no one knows what you're really strong or really good at. So if you suck at doing videos, then I wouldn't recommend doing 3 or 4 videos. You don't have to do that. You could do what we call a screen capture and create some PowerPoint slides and do it that way, and do a webinar. Like you have to look at where your strengths are. And if you don't have those strengths, but you still want to try to do it, then I'd recommend you hiring someone to help you and help you do those videos if that's really what you want to do. But that's really the magic, is looking at your pricing, how you want to sell it, and then also looking at where your strengths lie to be able to deliver that method, that marketing method. And the next one is 6, is crafting your compelling message. We talked a lot about messaging already today, but the core thing is, when you get your messaging nailed down, then you use that messaging throughout your whole launch. Okay, that's the whole thing about messaging, and messaging is really important. And the 7th thing is rally your raving fans. And so what I mean about rallying your raving fans is, if you don't have social proof, you'll have a really difficult time doing your launch. So social proof isn't just about getting testimonials. And by the way, never call them testimonials. Call them raving fans, call them shout outs, call them case studies. I don't care what you call them, but don't call them testimonials. That's an industry term. But it's not just about that. It's about authority. So like if you go on Monica's site, I'm sure she has pictures of people that she's worked with. And let's say, like she's worked with Dan Kennedy, like I've worked with Dan Kennedy. People see me with Dan Kennedy, they're like, oh my God, like she must know her stuff because she worked for him. So that's what I mean by authority, and that's what I mean by social proof. Or having logos of where your information has been. Let's say you've been on CNBC or you've been on HuffPost or whatever. Make sure you put those logos there. That's also social proof. Or if you want to have logos of people or companies that you've worked with, that's good social proof. Make sense?
Yep.
And that's what helps elevate you, and people looking at you as an expert, and people want to then invest in you and your products.
Yeah. And
that's the 7th system.
And that's why I love about the Soulful Launch System, is because of the fact that the magic key is taking who you are and what feels good to you, and then coming up with a system that is catered towards you, because unfortunately I find so many people just give people the next greatest thing, like things that they heard, and this works for everybody, and not everyone is a one-trick pony, or we don't all think and work the same. And so finding a system that really works for you, so that way you resonate with your raving fans, is super huge and important.
No, it really is. And having something simple, and the beauty of the system is you can use it for launches, you can use it for marketing. I mean, you have to have, and what the cool thing is, what I didn't say is I created the 7-step system by working one-on-one, where clients hired me for a day to do their pre-planning for their launch. And in order for us to really create a plan, we had to work through all those 7 things. And when you have those 7 things, like you've got the rest of your marketing and your communication nailed, whether you do a launch or whether you're just, trying to build your list, but you have that data and you have that information already figured out.
Wow, that's great stuff, Shannon. I greatly appreciate that. So how can someone find you or follow you and learn more about the launch system, or even be able to schedule an appointment to figure out if they're perfect for you?
The best way to get to me is just go to soulfulmarketingsystem.com. I have a contact page there. You can shoot me an email. But also for anyone on this call, Monica, if it's okay to do this, I'd love to give you guys a free guide. I did create a 5 ways to recession-proof your business, where I go over a lot more stuff. And you can go to soulfulmarketingsystem.com/ R as in recession, P as in proof, E guide. That's
Most definitely. So I'll put the link in the show notes.
Put the link in there. Yeah. Yep. And that'll be, because it'll give you, I have a bunch more ideas in there. I mean, we don't want your head to explode. So I just wanted to give you a couple things to take away. But certainly, I created it to help, more people, because this is a really difficult time, and being able to keep your business, sustainable, and being able to help transform lives, I think right now is really important.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Well, I really appreciate what you've shared with us, Shannon. I love everything that's soulful, not just food, but the how people can connect, from the inside out. And that's what it's all about, helping people find their authentic self, work and operate within your purpose, and be able to do it from a place of integrity. That's, to me, how I work and roll. I mean, it's the only way to be. That's why we get along so well.
I know. It's so true.
Well,
we gotta do some more. We gotta do some more stuff together.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for joining me for another episode of Decide to Move podcast. I'm super excited to have you here and sharing all the great information you did of how to actually market and launch your business and your product and services during a time like this, such as COVID-19, during this pandemic. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode, and I look forward to talking to you and seeing you again. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Decide to Move podcast with Monica M. Bijou. If you're ready to grow personally and professionally in order to take your destined position in the world, then schedule a free clarity call at bit.ly/call with Monica. That's bit.ly/call with Monica, or visit us at decidetomovepodcast.com for all links mentioned today and listen to previous episodes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and rate us on iTunes or your favorite listening platform.